Hello, this is SerbAtheist, and in this video I'm going to talk about Occam's Razor. I'm going to be using this knife in place of an actual Occam's Razor to demonstrate the properties of Occam's Razor. So, what is Occam's Razor? Well, it is a useful philosophical instrument around 6 inches long that has been successfully applied since the medieval times to quickly and decisively end philosophical debates and beat your opponent up in an argument. The technique of Occam's Razor has been shown to be quite effective to the point of opponents needing urgent medical attention to salvage their untenable positions. Most philosophers regard Occam's Razor as a special type of ad hominem attack in which you're not only attacking the person debating, but also his internal and external organs. So, when did Occam's Razor start to be used? Well, Occam's Razor was first used by, of course, William of Occam in his famous debates against an obscure Franciscan monk. At one point they were debating on the allegorical structure of the gospel narratives when all of a sudden William of Occam raised his voice as he yelled, "How dareth you imply that I'm not correct, you wretched pile of horse dung! Now you're gonna get it!" At which point he drew out an old rusty razor and lunged straight at the hapless monk. Now the blade pierced through the shoulder of the monk, after which he was promptly taken to a medieval hospital in which he died from a combination of gangrene, bloodletting, and praying to God. This situation, of course, left William of Occam as the sole and very convincing winner of the aforementioned argument. The striking debate victory brought William of Occam to a new level of prominence. Upon hearing of his stunning debate victory, educated scholars and religious leaders across Europe uniformly exclaimed, "What the fuck?" So, over the course of his long and distinguished career as a philosopher and mass murderer, William of Occam greatly perfected his technique to a point where no philosopher or theologian dare disagree with him on any single matter. As an interesting but not well-known consequence of this, green was the favorite color of every single person on continental Europe for the next 50 years. And after William of Occam's death, his methods continued to be applied with great efficiency whenever some little piece of shit disagrees with you. Now, as of recently, several historians have questioned the credit given to William of Occam for his ideas. They point out, this is pretty interesting, they point out that William of Occam probably drew inspiration from biblical passages pertaining to Samson, who used ordinary objects in his surroundings, such as jawbones of asses, in the friendly discussions he had with his Philistine neighbors. And also, they point out that numerous historical figures since even the most ancient times have used methods eerily similar to those of William of Occam in dealing with the opposition. Now, most mainstream historians counter this by stating that, fuck my watch. Now, where was I? Most mainstream historians, however, counter this by stating that, while there are indeed many similarities in the way William of Occam dealt with people who didn't agree with him, so many similarities in the way he dealt with his opponents in comparison with, say, Attila the Hun, his philosophic approach, his systematic establishment of ideas in numerous treatises, and his use of a small, sharp, and easily concealable weapon all warrant crediting him with the term Occam's Razor. Now let's move on to some philosophical considerations. Despite retaining basically the original idea and the spirit behind Occam's Razor, Occam's Razor has undergone numerous philosophical improvements and developments up until today. Fuck my mobile phone. Ah, there we go. So the design of the razor itself has been kept simple, owing to the idea that the simplest design is most likely the most effective one. And recent developments in metallurgy have significantly improved the durability, sharpness, and the ability to cause trauma of modern Occam's razors. Most users of Occam's razor, except the truly sadistic ones, operate under the so-called principle of parsimony, which in its most popular basic form states injuries should not be multiplied without necessity. In other words, if you can get someone to agree with your position using only threats or physical intimidation, there is really no need to stab him. Still others, of course, don't regard this principle as an integral component of Occam's razor and proceed to do it anyway just for fun. Now, we've been talking a lot about Occam's razor, but how do you actually use it? Good question. Well, assuming you're equipped with a good Occam's razor, which you can usually buy at any decently stocked hardware supply store, your first step is to size up your opponent. If your opponent is much larger than you, you will need at least several strong friends to pin his position down. At that point, the best course of action is to attack his lack of argumentation, pointing the razor straight at him with more suitable counter-argumentation, such as, for example, "How dare you tell me that no free will automatically implies predestination, bitch? Now you're gonna get it. Now I'm gonna fuck you up." Note that in the preceding example, for example, the term bitch can properly be applied to members of both sexes. If your opponent doesn't relent or break down crying at this point, you can proceed to apply Occam's razor to the underbelly of his argument. Though some people prefer to start with the eye or the face. Repeat applying Occam's razor until your opponent finally gets the point. Now, I talked about eye already. In the most extreme cases, you really have to apply Occam's razor to the eye so that then afterwards you can help your opponent see things from a different perspective. And one other note of caution: if things really get out of hand, the best idea would probably be to dump your opponent out of a speeding car in front of the emergency ward. So, guys, there you have it. This is how you use Occam's razor. Now, as a final note of caution, the term Occam's razor should not be confused with similar but quite different concepts such as Popper's hatchet, Gillette Mach 3 Turbo, Ted Bundy's hacksaw, or Voltaire's penis. Thank you for listening.